Hello everyone, this is John from DRMyc here. Hopefully you're all having a fantastic week, whatever you're doing. So I've had some feedback recently which led me to think making this video was a good idea, which is basically to explain the difference between this, and this. Ostensibly, they're all microbial solutions. They're all organic. They don't have any chemical phosphates or nitrates added to them. They are blends of microbes, which is awesome because nature has provided us with these symbiotic relationships that we can work with to make our grows better, to make contamination less frequent, and just to make life more enjoyable, because when you've got successful cultivation, everything's better. So just to run you through exactly how these blends work and what they do, and also some of the pitfalls if you use them incorrectly, which is super important too, I'll start with the MGP Pure. So MGP stands for Mushroom Growth Promoter or Mushroom Growth Promotion, depending on how you're using it. There are thousands of academic articles out there on it. There are tons of microbes in nature that we can leverage to get the best out of our grows. And MGP Pure utilizes some called Bacillus subtilis. There are 3 different types in there. We have Bacillus amyloliquefaciens as well. And we also have Bradyrhizobium and a couple of others. And what these microbes do, they help to do something what's called microbial mineralization. They secrete what are called auxins, growth promoters, including indole 3-acetic acid and gibberellins, and at the same time they solubilize phosphate that's available in the substrate too, and just in general make the environment for growing much more preferable for the mushrooms. They've got everything they need. They've got nitrogen, which is fixed by the Azospirillum species inside the blend too, and this actually takes nitrogen from the air, which is wonderful, and then changes it into nitrogen for uptake for your mushrooms, which is great because when you're using a substrate such as CVG, it's not incredibly nitrogenous like, for instance, a manure-based substrate would be. So using this is particularly advantageous if you're using CVG, and it's great if you're using manure too, because the nitrogen content does get depleted and this will reform it. So onto the second and most popular formula, which is MGP Plus. This stuff here is the real magic if you have contamination, but it can also cause problems if it's used incorrectly. So the ratio of microbes in this is different, and there's a different microbe in there which protects, I'd say prevents more than protects, trichoderma and other contamination. So how it does this is through the secretion of a biofilm. Inside this biofilm are things called cyclic glycopeptides. There's fungicin and surfactant, and these have antimicrobial properties and antiviral properties and antifungal properties, which is very interesting. And it's also posited in academic research that they actually cause microbes to enact their innate immune system more efficiently by triggering them without causing harm, which also makes a lot of sense in the context of what we're trying to do. So the great thing about this biofilm is, once you have clean spawn and you've introduced it into your bulk spawning situation or your grow bags, whatever you're doing, it will protect it from any exogenous, like any environmental trichoderma that's floating around in your grow room. If you live in an old house, if you've got pets, like I do as well, you know, you have contamination floating around the place, and there's not too much you can do about it. You can't necessarily just devote a whole room in your house or buy a shipping container to be a lab. So what this allows you to do is it allows you a bit more leeway in your working conditions when you're using it. So if you've got a massive trichoderma problem, it's guaranteed to cut down on it. It's not a pesticide. It's not 100% efficient. It's a microbial formula, which in tandem with proper sterile procedures and grain preparation can have you at 100% success if your procedures are also good. It is not a crutch to lean on for you. Proper sterile procedures are the only right way to do mycology. Feel free to experiment, do whatever you want, but we figured it out. Everyone's figured it out. Sterile procedures when you're preparing your grain and preparing your substrate are going to get you much better results, and at the end of the day, it's good practice for life too. You do something properly once, you don't have to come back to it again. It's the same with mycology. Follow the procedures, follow the text, and you won't go far wrong. So that brings us to number 3, which is just the Trike. Now this formula here is just a concentration of bacteria which can be used in certain situations to spot treat. I really don't recommend this to many people. It's probably only useful for about 5% of growers, I would estimate. It does create a strong biofilm, and the problem is with this and with MGP Plus, if you spray the surface of your grow, there is a chance that this biofilm will impede the fresh air signals which trigger pinning, which is a problem because without the primordial formation and the pinning, you don't have many mushrooms. We all know that. So be very careful when you apply it according to the instructions. Check out how it works with your genetics. Different genetics are going to yield different results because they react differently to the oxygens and other components in the formula. So the best way to start out is by spraying your colonized grain spawn, as in our tutorial, when spawning to bulk, and mixing everything together. See how your genetics react with it. You can, and most genetics will respond best if you reapply every 3 to 5 days. When you reapply it, spray it to the sides of your monotub. Don't directly spray it. Again, it's important not to directly spray your colonized substrate. It can cause bruising, it can cause all sorts of problems. Spray the lid, spray the walls. Microbes are great at getting everywhere, as we just found out over the last 2 years with COVID. It doesn't matter how much you protect yourself in some situations, the microbes are going to find you. They've evolved to do that, they're very good. It's the same with these microbes too. Even if you spray the walls, it's going to end up where it needs to go, which is perfect because that's where you want them to be. So with that said, if any of you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Please write to us in the comments here. Love to work in this community. It's an absolute honor to do what I love every day, which is working with mushrooms. Fungi are the future. There's so much stuff we don't know, and to be working in mycology is the biggest blessing I could have in my life. So thank you all for being customers and for helping us live our dream here, me and the dogs. And if you've got any questions, please put them in the comments. Thank you.